As I have been studying nutrition and the effects that things can have on our body environmentally, injections, what we're putting in our body, injecting into our bodies, skincare, everything, and how it all really does matter. And we want to try and reduce toxins as much as possible. We can't do it 100%, but we do try to lower the load. So as I have been looking at things to help slow down the aging process, I have tried to go for things that are more holistic. And so when I stumbled onto Nikki's Instagram, I was blown away by some of the things that she was doing and seeing the amazing results. And I immediately reached out to her and asked her if she would do an interview to explain to us what we can do to actually make a difference. And so without further ado, here you go. I want to welcome Nikki Roberson. Thank you so much for joining us and giving us this vital information about how to take care of our skin, how to look younger. Her business name is Face It, and it's located in Neptune Beach, Florida, one of my favorite spots. Hi, Nikki. Thank you so much for joining us. And if you just tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll get right into it.
Sure. Well, I am a holistic esthetician, been in that field for 29 years now. I'm also a holistic health coach from IIN. I'm certified in a lot of different modalities. In addition to just skin, I'm certified in manual lymphatic drainage, inner mouth massage, and the gambit of other treatments like microblading, microchanneling, dermaplaning, all of those things. I've been in and out and used those things in my business, chemical peels, all of these things.
So I just want to side note, because you had mentioned about inside the mouth, outside, and my cousin had been suffering with pain. I don't know if it's called TMJ or whatever it is, but she had to start taking some muscle relaxers, which she was hesitant. She didn't want to, but the pain was just so fierce that that's what she had to do. You have a little video on Instagram on how to take care of that. So I sent it to her and she started doing it. And by the next day, she already noticed a difference in the pain level.
That
And
was it.
yeah,
I'm so excited because I get those messages all the time.
it's amazing. And people need to know that we don't always have to go for surgery. There are things that we can do ourselves to work those things out. Just like with sore muscles, they go to a massage therapist or a chiropractor, and there's things we can do. So I'm so grateful that there's someone like you giving us information. One of the questions that I wanted to ask was, and because this is one of the things, okay, first of all, no shame for anyone who is doing this, but I personally am trying to stay away from injectables. I have never had them. And even with like little sag on the eye, I have considered a lift, but I don't want to. I don't want to go under the knife if I don't have to. But when someone asks you how you feel about injectables, what do you tell them?
Well, I feel that the body is expressing always what your emotions are. And when you do Botox, usually it's because the way that you are expressing your emotions is repetitive and it's showing up. So, surprise all the time, or frowning, or sadness. That's the body's way of expressing. And you start to do Botox, it detaches you from the expression of what the body is showing you as, hey, there's an issue here. The other reason why I advise my clients not to do it is we are stopping our muscles from moving. And as you stop your muscles from moving, we get less circulation. We start to get less movement of the tissue. And so then instead of the tissue having this place where it's flexible and we have blood circulation and lymph fluid going throughout it. Now we've got this. And over time, we lose movement, which people think is great, but not necessarily, because we lose the space for circulation and lymph fluid flow. And then that tissue tends to thin out. And when you lose circulation, you lose nutrition, cell turnover, that sort of thing. So I like to advise my clients, become more self-aware, become understanding of your emotions, so you can change those things that are causing those emotions, and then also change the way that you express yourself. You can retrain the way that you express. It's passed down from generation to generation. A lot of people say, oh, my mom had bad forehead wrinkles, that's why I have it. It's like, no, you do the same way of expression as your mom, as opposed to changing it.
I was doing some last night. Learning how to do some of these last night. So what got you, okay, first of all, you are teaching us that we can work out our muscles in our face, just like someone would go to the gym and work out their body. And so tell us a little bit about that.
Okay, so I think with aesthetics, the focus has always been on the epidermis, the dermis, and the subcutaneous, not really even on subcutaneous, except people will go and get injections into those areas to help plump them up. But you can change so much when you go even deeper and focus on, how can I increase circulation? How can I make sure lymphatic fluid is flowing well? Let's go even deeper than that. How can I strengthen my muscles so that even as we lose fat in the face, I can increase my muscles to account for that? But I also feel like we lose a lot of tissue because we don't have movement, right? You'll see people that have exercised their whole life and they still have definition. And then those who don't, they get flabby and lose that definition. I found even in the rest of my body, when I stimulate fascia, tissue that was flabby or like starting to hang is now starting to tighten back up. So my opinion is, what we say happens as you age, it can be reversed. And maybe not fully, but it definitely can be stimulated and become more vibrant.
You know, what I say is I'm not afraid of wrinkles. I mean, would I, if I didn't have to have them, you know, of course I wouldn't, but I'm not afraid of wrinkles. I'm afraid of what will make me look tired or mad. And a lot of times when you start to get sag and the eyes start to fall, that's what we look. We look tired, or we look like we don't feel well, or maybe even mad. So that is my goal, is to do what I can to keep that from happening. So is that possible?
Yes, or we have to address the feelings and be present in the moment as to what we're thinking and then what's coming through, because the body doesn't lie. Facial expressions don't lie. There is some inner bit of that.
Okay.
So that first, the mind, and because that's going to affect stress levels in the body, which will show up in other ways on the face too. Excess hair, hormonal imbalance. So yes, we want to have exercises, but we also have to step back and say, there is something behind this too. So being present in the moment. Yes, we can change those things. Those types of deposits in the skin, I like to address as fascial adhesions. So if we keep doing this all the time, this repetitive motion, we have fascial threads within the skin that go in and out of muscle tissue, out of tendons, support the skin structure. So we want to take a look at that. And when you are doing repetitive motion, those threads build over time, because it's your memory. It's your memory of what you did before to support you going forward. The fascia also holds emotions, but that's a long story. So the fascia will, when we're doing this all the time, Over time, it says, that's what you like to do a lot. We're going to hold that for you. So we want to break up those fascial adhesions. We want to become aware of why we're making that in the first place, and then replace it with a new habit and new thoughts about our situation. We can start with what we can do with our hands, or what we can even just do with moving our face in a certain way to change what we're doing. So in my face yoga, I will show you how to use your eyes to move back and forth and up and down, so that we're strengthening this orbicularis oris to help with hooded lids and hollow under eyes. And when we do that, we'll hold our forehead, so we learn to not use the brows to express that way. We also do face yoga, or I teach face yoga, where you can stretch the hands apart. Anytime you feel stress, or you see yourself making those motions, you want to say erase, and then you can go into what you want to do instead of that to help you start to express differently. And you can also say, what was I thinking in that last moment that caused me to express in that way? Was I worried about the future? Did I regret the past? And how can I reframe that in a different way? Because the body reads how you're feeling, whether it's the past or the future, in this moment, and re-expresses that way. So just presence in thoughts and knowledge of how am I expressing.
I love how you put the connection. I mean, this is mind, body, soul right here playing out. And why I had not, I mean, I teach this, but I have not thought about that in the actual facial expressions. So, what a great awareness for all of us to be able to tune into that. So, it's a 3-part, just like everything else. It's amazing. What are some of the tools to help someone progress faster, or maybe even deeper than they could possibly do with their hands if they wanted to get a little bit more support? Let's just say your hands, and you can notice a difference in 60 days. But if I were to use these tools, maybe I could start noticing a difference in 2 weeks or 30 days.
So first they have to take a look at their skin and make sure that their skin is in the position that they can move forward. So if somebody has an impaired barrier, which is usually obvious by a lot of redness or flakiness or visible capillaries, then they need to still focus on taking care of the skin first by continuing with manual lymphatic drainage. That's where things like LED can come into play. Microcurrent can be very helpful at that stage. Things that are just supportive of the epidermal barrier. So before they can move forward, or they have things like rosacea or eczema, they have to focus on that first before they can go to tools, because tools can interfere with that. So that has to be healed first. That's usually a gut thing. And so that's where I'll introduce things like binders and castor oil packs and say, it's an internal focus for you first now. And then once we've got that under control and we're not seeing visible changes on the skin, then we can move forward with other types of tools. So that has to be taken care of first. Then the next things that oh my goodness, so fun. Gua sha. So they can do gua sha quite often if they are still experiencing some epidermal problems, but it's gua sha morpholymphatic. So in that instance, instead of using gua sha at a angle, and scraping the skin, they're using it more laying down and guiding it across the skin like they would with their hands. Very light pressure, almost like if you were pushing a quarter across the skin. Now you're pushing this stone to help you. So that's how you would use gua sha in that. And also rollers. Rollers are fine too. They don't cause a lot of friction, but they help to move lymphatic fluid. Once the epidermal barrier is changed, you can change the angle of your gua sha and scrape. And now what we're doing is we're causing stretching of the muscles and the fascia. Now, while you're bringing this gua sha across the skin, usually you have your other hand holding and creating resistance so that we get some stretching. So if I was doing this on my neck, I'd bring this up, I'm creating resistance and pulling it. And then I'm doing a little jiggle at the end to help stretch the muscle. So this one's flat. You'll see other gua sha tools that almost look like, so that's going to help do some fascial adhesion, stretching out, because this creates that edge that kind of helps to break it up. So that's, see those things on a gua sha tool. That's what that's for. So you can advance from something that's flat to something like that. And then I love using, oh my goodness, this has made such a difference on my neck. I get this OMG Blaster set. This is from Ashley Black Guru, that I really mostly just use 2 tools out of this. But I think when you buy the kit, it's cheaper than buying them separately. So I use this tool, which you can see has more depth than those.
Yes.
And has made tremendous change for me. So I'll do this after I get out of a warm shower. The skin has to be warm, and it has to be properly prepped with good oil. And so this I will use on my neck, going up and down to stretch out the platysma on my neck. I'll use it along my jawline because we get a lot of fascial adhesions when we're doing repetitive motions here that accumulate, or if we do what they call the liar's smile, which is smiling this way instead of up. So then we get the lines here. So this helps with that. And then of course we always want to refocus with smiling in a way that is expressing up, and really an honest smile, right? Don't smile if you're not happy.
That's
And
right.
then moving this along the TMJ muscle, the masseter muscle here, then up on the temporalis muscle. Then I switch it up and I go into, I call this one the rabbit ears. And you can work in between the eyes on this procerus muscle, the corrugator muscle. You could do circles around here. And what this does is it increases circulation. It helps to smooth out fascial adhesions. And I'm just using very light pressure. And then we can use this along the forehead. You can go underneath the chin, along the jawline with it. We can even go on the sides of the esophagus, work along the TCM. So that's something that I love, because there's not a lot of tools you can use on the neck, because you have thyroid, you have major arteries going through here, and this tool works great, whereas other tools that are electrical, you can't. So I love those. I use that every morning.
I love that tool. I see it in my future. Is that good for someone who has jowls?
If you go on my Instagram and you look at my before picture from February, so I started using these tools in February. So it's been about 6 months now. And my face has gone from more of a square face to more of an oval face now. And people are like, oh, you lost weight. And I'm like, yeah, I lost it in my jowls. I'm actually the same weight I was back then, but my face has changed. Another tool in that, from that same company, is this one, which I will use this one in the shower, and I'll work the back of the neck, because back here we get a lot of tightness, which impedes lymphatic fluid flow. When this gets tight, we start to go like this, we get the hump. So we have to stretch those muscles out. You can also do that with gua sha back there, but you probably need to go deeper with a tool. Amazing. These make so much difference, because while these are like breaking up the fascia, they're going deep and helping to get away the mountains and the valleys, so that those fascial adhesions kind of rip up a little bit and then they become more flat. And you might get a little bit of bruising with this, but that's because those fascial adhesions are detaching. And you want to make sure, though, always that your skin is warm, or that tissue is warm, lots of oil. And then afterwards, you can use some cold packs on there too. But the difference between this and this is that this creates a negative pressure by pulling apart the tissue. So where one is like kind of using friction to help break up those adhesions. This is pulling them apart so they detach and then they can flatten out. So with this, there's two different types of cupping on the face. There's flash cupping where you create suction and just pull off. That's what you'll usually do in areas where you don't want to drag and create too much pressure pulling. And then there's dynamic cupping where you create the suction and then move. But either way, you want a lot of oil on the face. So how this works is you can use it along the jawline up into the angle where it stops there. You can go down from the neck right below the ear down to here, but we can pump the terminus, which stimulates lymphatic fluid. With this, you can go above the jawline, which stretches out these muscles and the fascial adhesions that so many people get. And then on the forehead, where everybody has expression lines, we move up over the 11s. It helps to stretch out those fascial adhesions. Get a lot of fascial adhesions on the temporalis muscle that goes back through here. So, but here and then across the forehead, we're usually doing dynamic, and this just stretches out this frontalis muscle. What's interesting is that we have a muscle that attaches here and then goes all the way to the back here, the occipital range. And so the more we frown, the more this comes forward and we get those hooded eyes. But if we start to lift this tissue up, and we can even do things where we hold our hair there and hold our hair here and just kind of pull towards each other. It helps to relieve tension in the neck and tension in the forehead. So that helps tremendously with forehead lines and droopy eyelids, but it is a slow and go process. It's going to take some time to reestablish the way the fascia lies and also to strengthen those muscles. Just like you don't go to the gym and tomorrow it's better. The longer you go and the more consistent you are, the better. The better food you're eating and the less alcohol you're drinking also contributes to that, because we get a lot of cross-linked wrinkling when you drink alcohol. The effects of that attach to your collagen and elastin fibers, and instead of them being nice little spirals, they catch on, straighten them out, and we get cross-linked wrinkling. So people who drink a lot might start to see more forehead lines, more lines in general, because it just weakens the tissue. Facial cupping is so easy. The first week you do it every night. The second week you do it every other night. And then after that, it's just twice a week. And once you get good at it, you'll be done with it in 5 minutes. And you'll be longing to do it more than twice a week because it just feels wonderful.
Okay, so I want to ask, if someone only had 5 minutes a day to do something to get headed in the right direction, what would be your suggestion?
There are certain tools that I just cannot live without. Is the facial cupping. That does take 5 minutes. And then 5 minutes, and every morning I do my fascia blaster every morning without fail. This one was face changing for me. I love that. And it's just a joy. When I don't have time to do that, I'm like, oh no, I love this. That I can just feel the flow in my face, especially when I do my temples. I'm like, oh, I didn't realize that I was holding some tension there.
Yeah, so you're taking tension away from the day before.
Twice a week, facial cupping. When I'm not doing those, I do gua sha, and I switch up my stones depending on how I feel, whether it's this one or the one that has more of the serrated edge. I'll switch up those. And then every morning I do my fascia blast. The fascia blasters on YouTube, the microcurrents on YouTube. I still have to get up. I have gua sha for lymphatic drainage, but I don't have it for muscle tone and fascial stretching yet. But that one I have a goal to do this weekend.
And do you have links so that when we purchase, that we can purchase them through your links?
Yes. So I am affiliate with the fascia blaster, the facial cups, and the microcurrent. And so
Okay.
I small commission whenever anybody does choose to use those, but I use them every day. I only list as I only affiliate with the companies that I
Mm.
believe in their products and I use, because I like to share what's effective for me.
Okay.
So that opportunity.
So down below in the description, I'm going to put all of the places that you can find Nikki, and we're going to put all of the tools that she talked about and put links where you can purchase them. And Nikki, I want to thank you so much. This is amazing, top-notch information, so critical and valuable. And you look absolutely amazing. So you're walking your talk for sure. And that's what I love. And when I first saw you, I mean, that was what spoke volumes to me is she looks like what she's talking about. We know it obviously works. So
Thank you for that. And I also want to express that quite often on my reel, I'll talk about this is a journey for me, because there's areas that I am still working. My neck is a major area, but I like to share that, we're always working on something. But I love the progress that I've made. And because I've made progress, I like to share that information. So it's a journey. It's
well,
always
we appreciate it so much. And honestly, it's keeping it real, right? Because this is real life and we are humans that have lived through this life. So that's, it's just part of it. But no, I love it. So thank you so much for spending this time with us. And I want to thank you guys also for tuning in. Leave a comment, let us know what you thought. And are you already using some of these tools? Let us know a little bit about your journey. I love to hear from the viewers. And you guys have a great day.